How's it going, Rogues Gallery, and welcome to another Sorcery Contested Realm video here on Red Zone Rogue. Today, we're going to talk about Sorcery. Think of this as my post-alpha review for Sorcery. There's a lot of things that I want to talk about. There's a lot of things that I want to kind of clarify and clear up for a lot of people out there. I'm not sure what I'm titling this. It might be like the truth of behind Sorcery or something like that. But in any case, we're going to talk about Sorcery, give you my full opinions on it, post-launch and all of that kind of good stuff, and possibly where I'm going to be going with Sorcery in the future. I think there are some very steep hurdles that Sorcery has to overcome now, and I think that the game is going to be absolutely awesome for some people out there, and it is definitely not going to be for other people as well. This is not a video where I'm here to be like, oh, I think everyone should play Sorcery. It's going to be for everyone. No. I don't think that's the case. In fact, I think Sorcery very much appeals to a specific demographic. And I think that demographic's really, really going to enjoy this if it can overcome its current, I don't know what you want to say, its current perception that it is only for rich people. Because let's be honest right now, this is the first thing we want to talk about. Sorcery is way too damn expensive. It is. It's absurdly expensive right now for the alpha product. And, you know, I know the folks over at Sorcery, Eric and his team, are aware of the prices, but I really feel that this is an overall negative for the image of the game. And I say that 100% as someone who has auctioned off publicly on my own eBay account some pretty high ticket stuff. You know, I auctioned off that Philosopher's Stone as well as some other stuff. But I'm just going to say this now, like, it's starting to gain this perception that it is only for the hyper wealthy. And I've seen that in like other YouTube comments and around the internet right now. And I really don't think that should be the discussion around Sorcery, because it is an incredibly fun game that I think appeals to a much wider audience than something like Flesh and Blood, because I really genuinely think it appeals to tabletop RPG gamers, you know, people who like D&D and that kind of stuff, but it also appeals to board gamers, and both of those audiences are way bigger than the competitive trading card game audience. We're going to talk about that in just a second, but I really do see this mentality that the game is only for rich people, that the game is too expensive, as a negative. It's something that Flesh and Blood had to overcome and is just now starting to overcome and being seen as a game for, you know, competitive-minded players. Flesh and Blood has its own problems right now. I think it needs to... Well, that's a different video. That's a different video. Flesh and Blood has its own problems right now. But currently, they have overcome this idea that it's, you know, a pump and dump scam only for investors or whatever. And I think that's where Sorcery is headed. And I think that's one of the things they really, really need to watch out for. This can all be fixed, and it might very well be. So this is, like I said, this is currently being recorded, post-alpha released, before beta. I think this can all be fixed with a very successful wide launch of beta, with retailers selling it with integrity and keeping the prices at, you know, MSRP, MAP, or whatever they're doing for Sorcery. Currently on Team Covenant, you can get boxes for $150, which is, yes, more expensive than normal TCGs, but that is like the MSRP price. Which I don't think is that big of a deal. It is definitely more expensive, but I don't think that's the price. That's crazy. I think the $800 booster box for Alpha is the crazy price. And then you can also get the starter decks for $40 for 4 starter decks. That is an incredible deal. That's $10 per starter deck. You can even split with a friend or multiple friends. Do, you know, everyone just pitch in $10 and then get the starter decks. So I really hope that part of Sorcery is, I don't want to say taken care of, but kept under wraps. I currently think the alpha is great if you are a collector, if you're an investor. I'm not an investor, I'm more of a collector. I love, obviously, I collect cool things that I like, but without the intent to sell them, right? So, yeah, if you're an investor, if you're a collector, go for it, right? Go for the really expensive alpha prices. But if you're not, if you just want to play the game like most people, like 99% of the people, most of the people watching this video, just buy beta. And I really, really got my fingers crossed that they have a successful beta launch, and, you know, it's desirable and people still want the cards and all of that kind of stuff. That's the big hurdle that I see them having to overcome here. And once again, I say this as someone who has sold some of my Sorcery stuff, because honestly the prices are just insane right now, and it's like to the point where I'm thinking, is it financially irresponsible of me to not sell this right now, where I could put the money to good use, put it back into the channel. You know, help me pay for a lot of my travel to various conventions, to Flesh and Blood Worlds this year. And yeah, that's why I personally sold some of my sorcery stuff. But yeah, if you just want to play, wait for beta. Okay, so that's the first thing I wanted to talk about. The second thing I want to talk about, and I think this is the bigger thing in the long term, is that sorcery might not be for you. And I say that because sorcery is a game that I very, very strongly believe appeals to tabletop RPG players, to board gamers, and to just people who want to have a good casual experience. If you are a competitive-minded trading card game player, if you are a tournament grinder for Flesh and Blood, you will very much likely not like sorcery. It is a very splashy, very board gamey experiences. Some of the cards feel very imbalanced, and that is by design. They're supposed to feel crazy and splashy, like when you flood the world and all of your dudes drown in the deluge. That's by design, right? It's supposed to invoke these cool story moments, right? Which is why I think tabletop RPG players and board gamers are really, really going to like sorcery. So if you have to have a super competitive nuts and bolts game with organized play, we're going to talk about the organized play as well, I'm not sure if sorcery is for you. I think you should maybe try it out, but go into it with the expectations that it is not a competitive-minded, tournament grinding kind of card game, right? You're going to want to stick to Flesh and Blood, or even something like One Piece, or whatever that you're currently playing, maybe Magic, but not sorcery. It's not that. And on top of that, sorcery has not really divulged any plans for organized play beyond local support. They do have like support kits, which are really cool. They're really, really cool local support kits, but they don't have an organized play circuit. There's not going to be a Grand Prix and a Pro Tour and a Worlds. That does not exist for sorcery. Who knows, it might in the future, but they have not talked about that ever, and they have not discussed any plans for that. You might see sorcery at a convention like Gen Con. Sorcery is going to be at Gen Con this year, so definitely go check them out, and they might have events at cons like that. But like I said, there are no plans for like a Pro Tour, GP circuit, Worlds, all of that kind of stuff. And that's once again why I'm saying, if you are a competitive-minded player, even if you're thinking like, oh, I can stomp all the casuals because it's a casual game, there's not even the competitive circuit for you to get there. So sorcery, I think it really appeals to some people, and I think it really doesn't appeal to others. Gameplay-wise, I personally think it is a ton of fun if you go into it with those expectations. If you go into it with that board game mindset, it is an absolute blast. Sorcery has some gameplay footage on their official YouTube channel. I highly recommend checking it out so you can kind of get a feel for how the game is. I think it's fun. And I think there are broken things to be found in the game, so you can have these crazy interactions and just an absolute blast. I think that's by design, and I think that we're going to see more of that in the future, right? It's like flavor and substance over like raw numbers, nuts and bolts kind of thing. I've seen some crazy combos, some absolutely crazy stuff already, and if you're into that kind of stuff, I think you'll really like it. So yeah, those are basically my initial thoughts on sorcery post-alpha, right? There's the price thing that I think they really need to overcome. It's going to create this bad image. It needs to be more of an image for the people who the game is actually meant for, which is like, the casual-minded audience, the board gaming audience, the tabletop RPG audience. This is not the audience that is going to drop $800 for a booster box, right? Because there's no competitive circuit to drive the value of like the beta cards, which is once again why I really hope that the beta release is very successful. I will also reiterate that if you are an investor, if you are a collector, go for that first edition. I literally have a first edition or an alpha case sealed sitting over there, and I don't know what I want to do with it because it's worth a crap load of money. But also, I just want to play with the cards. I just want to open it up and play with the cards. So I'm personally very torn on it. And I'll say this, and I know people are going to ask me this, if I did not already have alpha, I would not be buying alpha. I would just be waiting for beta because I just want to play the game. I do like to collect, but I don't like to collect at $800 a box, right? Like each box is like a PS5. I can put that money to better use elsewhere, right? I run my own business. I run this channel, and personally, I can put the money better. You know, I can buy new lights. I can buy a new camera, though my camera is pretty nice. So yeah, that's where I am with this. I genuinely really love the game. Personally, it's a game that I very much enjoy. I very much love playing. I love the flavor. I love the art. I actually love just everything about Sorcery, except for the fact that a lot of people are priced out of it. That's really the thing. I love the game, but I kind of hate how like almost no one can play it right now unless you're super rich, right? So once again, wait for beta. It's going to be launching in a couple months. I do believe beta launches in October, so that is only a few months from now. I will be covering the beta release, and I will be reviewing the beta release, the new beta starter decks they're different, by the way, than, I guess I have a starter deck box here. The beta starters are different than the alpha starters. So I'll be doing a review of that, as well as a review of the beta booster product and whether I believe it's, you know, worth it or not for 150 bucks. I probably, unless it's really bad, I probably will think it's worth it at around 150 bucks because of the release schedule. It's only 1 to 2 releases per year. And that's the other thing, right? There's not going to be releases every couple months. It's only a couple releases per year. So you can actually just, you know, once beta's out, buy a box here. Maybe wait a couple months, buy another box, upgrade your decks. It's a casual thing. You can just casually upgrade your decks that you're playing at the kitchen table, almost like how you would increase the power level of your TTRPG character, right? So that's once again, another reason why all of these things I think mix, and why I think the audience for Sorcery isn't exactly what you think it is. Not for the hardcore tournament, TCG grinders, more for a casual audience. And then just kind of to top it off here, yes, I'll be covering Sorcery more in the future. I already talked about how I'm going to do in the beta release. I might open, dude, I just might open up, I might open up my case and we'll see. But I'm going to do other videos here on Sorcery as we go forward. Maybe like news coverage, maybe looking at decks, like really fun or crazy decks. Gameplay's really hard. Gameplay's really hard with Sorcery. Can't play it over tabletop, or can't play it over webcam. Can really only play it over like Tabletop Simulator, which is not what I want to do, or in person. So maybe if I can convince someone or my lovely partner Robin to play with me in person, we can do that. But that's kind of like my whole spiel on Sorcery right now. I love the game. I think it's great. I think if you are a casual-minded player, a board game player, a tabletop RPG player, you will really like it, especially, hopefully, once the beta version comes out. If you aren't an investor or whatever, dude, don't pay $900. And also, I want to say this now. Don't pay like $300 for the beta boxes on eBay. Don't get scammed. Dude, just be smart with your money. Don't get scammed. Team Covenant has the boxes for 150 bucks. $40 for the starter decks. Don't buy them for like 200 to 300 bucks on eBay. That is insane. The prices are already insane for the alpha. Don't overpay for the beta. Like, I hope people are like sticking around long enough to hear this like rant, but I've seen boxes on eBay for beta that are like $300. What the hell? Don't buy that garbage, man. Anyway, that's all I have to say. Sorcery, it's cool. I'll be doing more content of it. Don't overpay. Don't spend outside of your means. Don't give in to FOMO. Beta's around the corner. And see you next time.